Okay. 2024 Albert 06 Foxty Alpha oh 06 Foxtrot. Um okay, so we are okay, great. Okay, great. Hope that this is going into yeah, okay. Page 44. Stop making sense. That's the section. Must we always follow reason? Do I need a rational argument for why I should fall in love, cherish my children, enjoy the pleasures of life? Isn't it sometimes okay to go crazy, to be silly, to stop making sense? If rationality is so great, why do we associate it with a dour joylessness? Was the philosophy professor in Tom Stoppard's play Jumpers right in his response to the claim that the church is a monument to irrationality? The National Gallery is a monument to irrationality. Every concert hall is a monument to irrationality. And so is a nicely kept garden or a lover's favor or home for stray dogs. If rationality were the criterion for things being allowed to exist, the world would be one gigantic field of soybeans. The rest of this chapter takes up the professor's challenge. We will see that while beauty and love and kindness are not literally rational, they're not exactly irrational either. We can apply reason to our emotions and to our morals, and there is even a higher order rationality that tells us when it can be rational to be irrational. Stoppard's professor may have been misled by David Hume's famous argument that reason is and ought only to be the slave of the passions, and can never pretend to any other office than to serve and obey them. Hume, one of the hardest-headed philosophers in the history of Western thought, was not advising his readers to shoot from the hip, live for the moment, or fall head over heels for Mr. Wrong. He was making the logical point that reason is the means to an end, and cannot tell you what the end should be, or even that you must pursue it. By passions, he was referring to the source of those ends, the likes, wants, drives, emotions, and feelings wired into us, without which reason would have no goals to figure out how to attain. It's the distinction between thinking and wanting, between believing something you hold to be true and desiring something you wish to bring about. His point was closer to there's no disputing taste than if it feels good, do it. It is neither rational nor irrational to prefer chocolate ripple to maple walnut, and it is in no way irrational to keep a garden, fall in love, care for stray dogs, party like it's 1999, or dance beneath the diamond sky with one hand waving free. Still, the impression that reason can oppose the emotions must come from somewhere. Surely it is not just a logical error. We keep our distance from hotheads, implore people to be reasonable, and regret various flings, outbursts, and acts of thoughtlessness. If Hume was right, how can the opposite of what he wrote also be true? That the passions must often be slaves to reason. In fact, it's not hard to reconcile them. One of our goals can be incompatible with the others. Our goal at one time can be incompatible with our goals at other times. And one person's goals can be incompatible with others. With those conflicts, it won't do to say that we should serve and obey our passions. Something has to give, and that is when rationality must adjudicate. We call the first two applications of reason wisdom, and the third one morality. So going back, so wisdom then is what we call the first two applications of reason wisdom, and the third one morality. The last thing I remember seeing three of is one of our goals can be incompatible with the others. Our goal at one time can be incompatible with our goals at other times, and one person's goal may be incompatible with others. No, that can't be what it's referring to. What do you talk about three applications? Oh, yes, it is. Okay, so to resolve the incompatibility between one of our goals and the other people or their goals. Oh, no, no, no. One of our goals can be incompatible with the other. So to 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 resolve the clashing between one of my goals and another one of my goals in the same moment, I can use wisdom, I guess. I ought to be able, we're talking about using wisdom. In the second case, one person's goals can be incompatible. No, one goal at one time can be incompatible with our goal at one time can be incompatible with our goals at other times. Okay, so you can use wisdom, and one person's goals can be incompatible with others. Okay, and so then to resolve that with reason is morality. Okay, I gotcha. Section: conflicts among goals. People don't want just one thing. They want comfort and pleasure, but they also want health, the flourishing of their children, the esteem of their fellows, and a satisfying narrative on how they have lived their lives. I thought he was going to say something that. Ah. Since these goals may be incompatible, cheesecake is fattening, unattended kids get into trouble, and cutthroat ambition earns contempt. You can't always get what you want. Some goals are more important than others. The satisfaction deeper, the pleasure longer lasting, the narrative more compelling. We use our heads to prioritize our goals and pursue some at the expense of others. What? No, we don't. I mean, we could, but typically, first of all, we tend to assume that our goals are all consistent within each other. Second of all, I mean, it's only like high performers on like their projects and maybe certain life goals that they're going to do some proper, I guess, prioritizing. Or maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't use my head to prioritize my goals, but I have ADHD, so. Indeed, some of our apparent goals are not even really our goals. They are the metaphorical goals of our genes. I do want to continue to keep reading rather than interrupting, but this is my fucking video. And also, I do have a video called the program's reason versus the programmer's reason. So sometimes we speculate, oh, we did this because of that. And no, actually, that's just why we have the instinct to do that. In this case, we didn't do it because we had thought about that reason. But we do, in general, have an instinct to do X in that situation. And that instinct was programmed in for the same reason that you were basically that you were saying for this instant. Well, anyway, he'll say it. I think we're gonna say the same thing. The evolutionary process selects for genes that lead organisms to have as many surviving offspring as possible in the kinds of environments in which their ancestors lived. They do so by giving us motives like hunger, love, fear, comfort, sex, power, and status. Evolutionary psychologists call these motives proximate. Proximate. Meaning that they enter into our conscious experience and and we deliberately try to carry them out. All right, whatever. You know what I think about that sentence. They can be contrasted with the ultimate motives of survival and reproduction, which are the figurative goals of our genes, what they would say they wanted if they could talk. Huh. So, I see. I see. This is nice, actually. Okay. So, proximate. We have to redefine proximate, but I get it now, I think. They can be contrasted with the ultimate motives, which are the figurative goals of our genes. So those are like totally the programmer's reason for putting in, the coder's reason for putting in those lines of code, for installing those its, the coder being Mother Nature and chance and time. I mean, Mother Nature is just a term representing chance plus time plus reproduction plus replication, whatever. Evolution. Okay. So fuck anything entering our conscious. I mean, yes. Okay, yes. Obviously, there is a conscious experience. There are things that are sort of experienced. There's not, I don't think, a single conscious experience. I think it depends on which it's are doing the experiencing, but whatever. And then we deliberately, I hate words like conscious and deliberate, though, because I just think they're terrible. They're misused. And okay. So when all right, we're not gonna all right. When so you're pre-programmed with a whole bunch of its, and you have those its for the certain sort of reasons, quote unquote, that they gave your ancestors an advantage. Now, sometimes those its aren't connected enough to the language its and just aren't connected enough to, I don't know, whatever the its that sort of constitute at a given moment the total systems experience. All right, so there are some its that because they're not sort of as connected, they're not part of the conscious experience. We don't sort of give them any thought, if you will, as in we don't put words to it, we don't talk about it, it doesn't kind of, there isn't a whole lot of discussion about it in the head between the different its. This is tricky. Okay. This is interesting. Okay. And then you have other ones. So those are your ultimate. Those are quote unquote ultimate motives. So you don't even talk to your friends. Did he literally? Oh no. Okay. So you don't even talk to. Okay, but then these proximate ones, the programmer had a reason for putting it in there, and then because it's connected enough with the other its, you also go and sort of. We're gonna have to come back to this. This is interesting. Okay, so I don't know how to talk about consciousness in it theory. Evolutionary psychologists call these motives. They do so by giving us motives like hunger, love, fear, comfort, sex, power, and status. So these are things like a person can say, yeah, that's something that I want. And then the ones that don't, what it really is, isn't it about consensus in the brain, sort of? We have a word in the vocabulary called val, which means to like validate. And so the proximate motives are these hardwired things that we vow. And then the ultimate motives, and what val, I guess what it means is that the other its have engaged with it, it's that can put words to it, so it's maybe with language or whatever. Certainly it's that are part of the experience. So I'm a little bit distracted. I keep looking out the window. All right. These one is proximate. Now I've just lost my train of thought. Mm-hmm. And then ultimate motives are ones that, if we did sort of with language consider them, if other its did engage with them, they wouldn't necessarily vow them or see. Why don't we just keep going? All right. Conflicts between proximate and ultimate goals play out in our lives as conflicts between different proximate goals. Lust for an attractive sexual partner is a proximate motive, whose ultimate motive is conceiving a child. Or I may have been completely misunderstanding proximate and ultimate. We inherited it because our more lustful ancestors, on average, had more offspring. However, conceiving a child may not be among our proximate goals, and so we may deploy our reason to foil that ultimate goal by using contraception. Having a trusted romantic partner we don't betray, and maintaining the respect of our peers are other proximate goals, which are rational faculties, okay, which some of our its may pursue by advising our male, the not so good its, to avoid dangerous liaisons. In a similar way, we pursue the proximate goal of a slim, healthy body by overriding another proximate goal, a delicious dessert, which itself arose from the ultimate goal of hoarding calories in an energy-stingy environment. When we say someone's acting emotionally or irrationally, we're often alluding to bad choices in these trade-offs. It often feels great in the heat of the moment to blow your stack when someone has crossed you, but our cooler head may realize that it's better to put a lid on it to achieve things that make us feel even greater in the long run, like a good reputation and a trusting relationship. Pinker and I, it's possible we're not at all talking about the same thing. When I was talking about the programmer's reason, well, he does talk about the programmer's reasons here. Talks about the ultimate motive of conceiving a child, so that's why it was good to install some lust. But here's something else here's what he's really talking about. That is, but also we have something in our vocabulary. So PAR, and soup, SUPE. I think I'm justified in inventing these words because he doesn't. Basically, the proximate, doesn't he use proximate in two different? Proximate means they enter into our conscious experience and we deliberately try to carry them out. Sure, whatever. Okay, now. Oh, so we can actually just replace proximate and ultimate with par and soup. Not when you define proximate as they enter into our conscious experience and we deliberately try to carry them out. But if you define it as something that leads to or that is intended to facilitate the achievement of the ultimate goal. So, for instance, being lustful, pars, you can use it as a verb, pars, conceiving a child. Conceiving a child, soups, being lustful. Okay, does that make sense? What par and soup mean? It just says what the relationship is, what the achievement direction is between the two things. So if one thing helps achieve the other, or if another thing, or if yeah, okay. So let me just give you another example. So, however, conceiving a child may not be among our proximate goals. No, you can't just replace parents. Oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, you conceiving a child. So suppose um, conceiving a child is not a soup of yours. Suppose it's not an ultimate goal of yours. What? He says, however, conceiving a child may not be among our proximate goals, so we may deploy our reason to foil that ultimate goal by using contraception. All right, because proximate goals are our goals versus ultimate goals are genes' goals. I see, I see, I see, I see. So definitely, no, you can't replace them. Okay. Par and soup are still really good for when you're organizing, if you actually do prioritize your goals and objectives, because you are programmed with certain pars that you may realize are not actually aligned with the soup that they're meant to par. So, for instance, if you have a soup of having a family, um, and raising your children with a partner, that's the soup, and that's then your par. Gosh, I hope the video you're watching, the thing is, all I'm doing is staring out the window and realizing I'm talking every once in a while. If your soup is to have this family, have these children with someone that you raise the children with, well, then an inappropriate par would be uh, sort of lust or trying to find someone maybe in a nightclub. I don't know. Maybe. Just trying to come up with an example. So, because that would not bring you maybe to the soup. So you have to, but you do maybe feel the instinct to go out where young, beautiful people are having fun and look for a partner there. And then you realize that that doesn't actually par your soup. And then you could say the opposite as well. You could say it the other way around as well. That having a solid family does not soup this night out. It is not parred by this night out. All right. I think I'm tired or something. All right. Let's pause there. Did we make any progress? 44 to 47. All right. 2024 Alpha Albert 07 Goldie 1900. I think I really messed up that whole proximate ultimate thing. And I thought I understood it better. I thought it was like actually obvious and simple when I was editing. I've now finished editing. I see we have about 5 minutes left, so we're gonna read for that. Not feeling so confident about. Do I want to say anything about that proximate ultimate? All right, let's just make it real quick. So, you know what? No. I'm going to leave that open. I'm going to leave that unresolved because I'm kind of wondering whether the issue I'm having is that his distinction depends on the existence of phenomenal consciousness. So that is something, if you understand it theory well, help me out trying to redefine proximate and ultimate such that they mean what he said without depending on phenomenal consciousness. I mean, he says enter into our conscious experience. So maybe that doesn't count as presuming phenomenal consciousness. Um, it just presumes awareness, which sure we have. But then you have, and we deliberately try to carry them out. And I don't like words like deliberately either. I mean, what does that mean? What does it mean to deliberately do something? It means that you know that you are doing it and you know why you are doing it, right? But is that the case for approximate goals, which are really these like little tricks that evolution installed, that the genes put in there to achieve their ultimate goals? I mean, when people say, "Oh, I'm interested in that guy because blank, blank, blank," it might be completely bullshit. They might not mention at all how he responds to their evolution, to her evolutionary needs, or or his evolutionary needs, whatever. Not to mention that introspection is bullshit. Okay, um, so let me just make a quick comment on love. Don't do the giving reasons thing. You tell the person, look, I'm going to change your question if you don't mind. Let me try this, and then if you feel like I'm not answering the question you want to ask, then let's talk about it some more. But here, let me say this. I'm not going to presume to know why I feel this way about you. I know that I feel this way about you, and I know that you have certain awesome qualities. And I also know that there are things about you that I find really cute, while still having noticed that maybe they would bother other people. But they don't bother me because of how I feel about you, which is maybe will be further evidence. So I can give you some examples of some really awesome qualities that you have that I see and that I admire. And I can tell you things that I really find really cute and hope to continue to find them so for the next for the next several decades. But what I can't do is, I mean, the words are being sent out from a network in my mind. What I cannot do is go and like actually figure out how you triggered the serotonin and the vasopressin and the oxytocin or whatever. Um, that I would be lying to you if I tried to do that. Well, that used up quite a bit of time, so let's see what we can do next. Whatever, we'll just start this next section. Um, so we're on page 47. Conflicts among time frames. Since not everything happens at once, conflicts between goals often involve goals that are realized at different times. And these in turn often feel like conflicts between different selves, a present self and a future self. The psychologist Michel Walter captured the conflict in an agonizing choice he gave 4-year-olds in a famous 1972 experiment. One marshmallow now, or two marshmallows in 15 minutes. Life is a never-ending gauntlet of marshmallow tests, dilemmas that force us to choose between a sooner small reward and a later large reward. Watch a movie now, or pass a course later. Buy a Boble now? How's that? Or pay the rent later. Uh, put an image up. Is that it? Well, so you know, but I don't know at the time of this reading. Enjoy 5 minutes of fellatio now, or an unblemished record in the history books later. Ah, Clinton, I get it. Okay. The marshmallow dilemma goes by several names, including self-control, delay of gratification, time preference. I was looking for delay of gratification the other day. Time preference and discounting the future. Or double discounting, maybe? No, 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 that's not true. No. Double discounting is when you add distance. Okay, bye.